it's going to record to my computer. It said we don't have any cloud space left, so it may take a little bit of extra time to process this.
No problem.
Hi, and welcome to TMC Connect. We'll get started in just a minute. Hi, and welcome to TMC Connect. My name is Tony Bramley, and I'm the Director of Business Development here at the Mortgage Collaborative. Thank you so much for stopping by today. We've got a great session for you. iEmergent is here, and we are going to be talking about zooming in on mortgage opportunity zones. We've got Bernard Massuli and John Maynell with us, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but just a couple of housekeeping items. You guys are on mute, but we want this to be interactive, so please drop your comments or your questions in the chat, and we'll be taking those as we go through the presentation. There'll also be a follow-up email that comes out tomorrow. It'll have a link to the YouTube video, as well as a copy of the deck will also be shared with you. So once again, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate your time, and I am going to turn it over to Bernard.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Thanks everyone for joining. Again, my name is Bernard Massuli. I'm COO at iEmergent. And with me is John Maynell, who's our Chief Growth Officer. And as Tony mentioned, we will be talking about zooming in on mortgage opportunity zones, or MOZs. So I am going to share my screen. And we are going to do kind of a hybrid approach where I have a slide deck, but I also have kind of our interactive dynamic mapping platform at the ready. And so the idea is, well, you know, what are mortgage opportunity zones? They come from our forecasts. So our platform allows us to view where mortgages are going to happen anywhere in the US, from states all the way down to census tracts. And we are basically putting together groups of census tracts and calling them custom submarkets or mortgage opportunity zones. And so why is it important, as I move to the slide, why is it important, or what can you do with forecasts in mortgage opportunity zones? Well, here's the summary. Here's the highlight. These are the 5 things, the 5 takeaways from today's presentation that you can do. So 1 is highlighting gaps in coverage. 2 is setting market-based sales targets. 3 is creating those actual submarkets. And then 4 and 5 are, you know, making sure that you're working with, either on the recruiting side, the right LOs where you want to grow. That's the real key. It's where you want to grow. And then again, identifying and working with the agents where you want to grow. Okay, so being very specific and very intentional. So we're going to talk about highlighting gaps in coverage first. So I'm going to move to our platform. So this is a map of the US, but today we're going to be focusing actually on Denver, because TMC had announced that, you know, we're heading to Denver next year. So I thought it'd be good to focus on that market. So we're going to zoom in to Colorado and show you, okay, here's Colorado, but specifically here is the Denver MSA. All right, so let's zoom in more. And what we are doing now is figuring out, okay, I have a lender prepared, and this lender's branch configuration looks like this. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of this lender, but it rhymes with Key Largo. Okay, so you figure that out. And so the idea is, okay, well, you know, these branches seem to be clumped towards the center of Denver. So let's really get a little bit closer and say, all right, are they doing a good job of covering, you know, the Denver market? Well, I think it's there's more information needed kind of answer, right? We don't know yet. Okay, so in order to help you, I'm going to say, well, here are Key Largo's 2023 year-to-date purchase originations. So these blue circle, each blue circle represents an actual purchase origination made by this lender. And so there are quite a few, right? We can see that I think there are, 170. So I asked the question again, is this lender doing well? Well, I would still argue that there is information missing. Why? Because, well, we don't know. Is 170 purchase loans a lot or a little in this market? So really, we need information about the market itself. And so now I'm looking at Denver, but I have our forecast for Denver by census tract for all purchase loans. Okay, so the blue census tracts represent areas with fewer purchase loans. The red census tracts represent areas with more purchase loans. And so now when we see the originations in context, we can say, hey, yeah, they're doing well in a lot of these areas, but look at this area, for example, this red census tract, and I'm going to click off this layer, this orange census tract right here to the south, 247 purchase loans. And there's one origination here. How about here? 362 purchase loans, and we have a handful of originations. Just to the south, another 626 purchase loans, and they're just a handful originated so far. Okay, and even right over here, even closer to one of its branches, another 485 purchase loans, and they have a branch within a red census tract where we're saying there are 535 purchase loans up for grabs here, and they have not originated a single one. So the point is that we can see with the forecast where they are lending, but more importantly, where they're not lending. Again, where they have these gaps in coverage. So if I go back to my PowerPoint and we move to the next slide, these are the maps that we just looked at. So again, this is the basic overview, but then when we zoom in a little bit, we can see that these orange circles represent gaps in coverage. Okay, these are areas where this lender could be focusing more of its resources in order to extract more opportunity that is already in its market. Okay, next is setting market-based sales targets. Okay, so why do we need to do this, or what's important about this? Well, it's because it's where the market is headed. So traditionally, we look at 2022 actuals. So here's the market. This is Denver. There were 52,702 purchase loans in Denver last year, and this lender had 634 of those. Okay, but now here's our forecast. We're saying, hey, look at this. The market is actually dropping 11.5% in purchase loans in Denver. And traditionally, the goal is, hey, let's just do what we did last year plus 10%, right? So that if we approach the market with that goal, we would actually we would be trying to increase our loans from 634 to 697. And again, in this market, is that a realistic goal? No, to me, it's setting us up for failure. So instead, what we can do is we can figure out, hey, is the market growing or is it slowing? And once we figure out it's slowing based on the forecast, we can go, you know what? 634 was great for last year, but this is a different year. And so even if we lower our units, our target from 634 to 600, so actually we're losing, we're contracting 5.4%. But guess what? It's contracting less than what the market is. And so therefore, we would actually be picking up share. Okay, it's being able to figure out, okay, based on this current environment, what is a realistic goal? Okay, hopefully that's clear. So next is creating custom markets. So I'm going to come back to this slide, but here I want to show you, we're back in the tool, and I want to show you how, if I clear the originations, so I'm just hiding them. And again, we have our legend for where the opportunity is in Denver, right? But what happens if I change this, because this is the opportunity for all borrowers, if I change this to opportunity for a specific segment of the market. So in this case, we're going to say, all right, well, this is the opportunity for all borrowers, but what is the opportunity for African American borrowers? And it looks like this. So you can see that the pocket of opportunities shift based on the specific segment we're trying to reach. And so here you can see that there's a ton of opportunity for this segment to the northeast of Center City. Okay. So we, again, we have this lender and these are our branches. And guess what? If I put their originations back on, holy cow, I am not really serving this market. I'm not serving this segment of the market very well at all. Okay. So let's make a MOZ, a mortgage opportunity zone, or a custom market. And so the idea now is that if I'm looking to serve African American borrowers in Denver, then I don't need to focus on all of Denver. Instead, I need to focus on those pockets of opportunity. So I would say there's a tiny pocket right over here where they have a branch, and then this larger area right down here. And so in fact, what that larger area looks like is this orange section. Okay, so now we're talking about, this is the mortgage opportunity zone we're talking about. We don't have to focus on all of Denver. We just have to focus on this area in order to reach this specific segment. And so now I go back to our slide. So again, we just saw, hey, that was the area where there was a gap in coverage for this segment. And so in fact, we're going to create this MOZ, this mortgage opportunity zone, this orange. And what's interesting is that you can actually see that our opportunity for this segment for African Americans in Denver, in the entire Denver MSA, is actually about 1,800 purchase loans. Well, guess what? 685 of those African American loans are in this area, or basically 38% of the African American market is here. And so therefore, if you're targeting that segment, you want to target the specific area of growth to say, hey, we're gonna grow with this segment or grow in this market by targeting this specific area and making sure that we're lending in the community there so that the community flourishes and everybody wins. Okay. So again, staying with so after we create custom markets, then we can get very specific about a couple of things. The first is point 4, which is recruiting specific loan officers doing business where you want to grow. So this is the idea that, again, if we are focusing on this MOZ, then we don't care about all of the loan officers in Denver. In fact, we're trying to be very pinpoint and very precise about recruiting loan officers who are doing business in this area specifically. And so this is hard to see, so I'm going to go back to our platform. And John is going to talk about these specific loan officers that we're finding in this orange area. So John, if you want to talk about what we're looking at here.
Thank you. Yeah, as Bernard said, it's usually pretty easy to find lists of top loan officers nationally, regionally, possibly at a state level. But what he's keying in on here are, you've got a specific lending goal. In this case, it's a geographic goal. It's a submarket that we're calling a mortgage opportunity zone, or a MOZ. So that orange area that he defined on the map, we're not necessarily looking for the top loan officers in the country or even in the state of Colorado. We're looking for the people that are most active in that specific geographic area. So you can see here, the columns have got, you can see in the middle there, it says loan officer US totals. Now, these are national totals. There in that column, you can see US loans, how many loans these loan officers have done nationally year to date, I believe it is, Bernard. I can't see that window, but I think it's year to date, isn't it? Now, you'll notice those are a little bit out of sequence. The number one guy's got 95, number two guys got 119. The reason those are out of sequence is because we are actually sorting this by the number of loans these people have in the specific mortgage opportunity zone that Bernard has created. That orange area that you just saw on the map, you can see here, the person at the top of the list who was actually number 3 on this particular list is number 1 in that MOZ, in that mortgage opportunity zone. So not necessarily the number 1 overall in a state or country, but in that specific zone, this platform can hone in on the loan officers that have established a presence, that are actually connected to the community that you've defined. And so you can go down the list there, and you have in descending order, the people that are most active closing loans in that geography. And this is something you can do by geography. You can do it by ethnicity. You can break it down by income, so you could just as well identify all of the LMI census tracts and pare it down that way. These are called breakouts. You could even do majority minority census tract, any sort of breakout you can think of that corresponds to a lending goal. We can hone in on recruiting specifically those people that are most successful in that particular segment, be that geographic, ethnic, or income related, or any other parameters that you care to put together. We can hone in on the best possible resources to meet your lending goal, as you can see here.
Perfect. Thanks, John. And actually, another thing to think about as you're looking at this is that, yes, this is our list of top LOs in our MOZ that we created. But as you go down the list, you can actually see, for example, number 4, Lori. She's originated 48 loans in the US, but guess what? 40 of those have come in that MOZ, meaning that she is really part of that fabric of that community. She is a person that she is a loan officer that I would look to recruit if I am looking to expand my business with that segment specifically, right? Looking at the percentage of loans done in that MOZ versus the percentage of loans done outside that MOZ. Okay. So let's go back to our PowerPoint for a second. So it's the same concept, right? We just looked at recruiting specific loan officers, but now we're going to look at working with specific agents in that mortgage opportunity zone. And so John is going to take us through that as well.
All right. So now we've got a similar tab, similar grid looking at realtors. And again, we're looking at the national market versus the opportunity zone that we've identified. So the US totals there in the middle takes very much the same form we looked at for the loan officers. To the right, you've got the market totals. And the market that we've defined, again, is that orange opportunity zone that Bernard showed you on the map. So here again, if we scroll down just a little to see a little bit more of the list. Thank you, Bernard. Actually, we can collapse those filters for a moment to see more of the data. Now here again, we have, if you notice in the US listings column in the middle, those are not necessarily in numerical order. If you work down to the bottom, you see some of those numbers are not in numerical order. They're a little bit out of sequence because once again, we are sorting these by the number of listings these agents have in the mortgage opportunity zone, that we've defined within the platform. So you can see here, interestingly, it does look like the number 1 agent nationally is also number 1 on the list. The person, Ulrich, has got over 1,500 listings nationally and well over 200 in this particular market. But as Bernard correctly pointed out before, another meaningful attribute to look at is what percentage of the listings versus their national or state listings really come into play. So that is, what do we want to make that about? A little less than 20, I can't do mental math. That's maybe about 20% or so, maybe a little bit less of his overall total. But if you work your way down the list, you can see some of these realtors have fewer. And this list, by the way, we're showing you the very top of the list. this list goes on to capture all of the realtors that are active in this area, you can begin to see not only their totals, but how those totals compare to their overall listing volume. So you can see, as Bernard said about the loan officers, who really is engaged primarily with that particular community, be that a geographic community, the way he's identified this Moz, or whether that's an ethnic group, or whether that's a group that you've defined by income. Any sort of breakout or breakdown that you want, we can illuminate that in the platform. The idea being the strategic relationships that you form with realtors will be highly specific. And this allows you to hone in on those strategic partnerships that will give you the most benefit to your lending goals.
Excellent, thank you. So, essentially, let's recap at this point. And if there are any questions in the chat, John, make a note so that we can address those. But the idea is, hey, what can you do with forecasts and mortgage opportunity zones as we zoom in? One is highlighting the gaps in coverage. So again, it's where you're lending, but more importantly, maybe where you're not lending. What opportunity are you missing? Especially in this market where a lot of lenders may not be growing or entering new markets. The idea is to get the most out of your existing markets where you're already spending your resources today. Then it's being able to set market-based sales targets. So again, it's not just, hey, let's do what we did last year plus 10%. It's let's take into account what the market itself is doing so that we can make more intelligent targets to say, hey, it's a tough year, so maybe let's not grow, or let's not try to grow as much, but maybe let's just lower our target just by a little bit, but by just doing that, we're still coming out ahead because the market is dropping by more. Then it's being able to create custom markets or mortgage opportunity zones. Again, the idea is it's not just growing anywhere in Denver. It's growing specifically where you want to grow, where you're trying to reach specific segments of the market. Okay. And then again, we saw how 4 and 5 are interrelated, but the idea is that you recruit or you work with specific people in the industry that can help you move the needle where you want it moved. So again, identifying those right folks who, on the recruiting side, are already doing the business in the areas where you want, and then on the agent side is being able to work with the right folks who are listing properties in those areas where you want to work, right, or grow. So thank you. That was our presentation for today. Here's our contact information if anyone needs it. And then, John, were there any questions?
No questions. The one thing I'll highlight as we sort of round this out, and please type any questions or any comments that you have, feel free to type them into the chat. The one consistent theme throughout this, I want to make sure is a huge takeaway for everyone that's listening, is the fact that all of these features and functions and goals and things that Bernard has showed us this afternoon only work if you have a reliable forecast of purchase loan activity. And that is something that is unique to iEmergent and Mortgage Market Smart. We have precious little forward-looking data in this industry. Most people's goals are built on historical data, and I believe, as we all know, and as we've seen, over the last handful of years, last year absolutely does not equal this year. And things change radically from year to year. Think about the transition from 2021 to 2022. If you were looking at 2021 as a model of 2022, obviously you were probably a little surprised, but the forecast is what really enables everything. And what's interesting, I will also highlight the fact that few people know that within this industry, within the mortgage industry, we have some of the best predictive analytics in the world. The accuracy benchmark for all other industries when it comes to forecasting and predictive analytics is 70%. This forecast is accurate to 97% on a national level. If you call out the top 1,000 counties nationally that represent 94% of the national volume for purchase loans, The forecast is between 80 and 85% accurate or higher. So this outperforms virtually all other predictive analytics in other industries. So this is something as an industry we can be proud of, that we have at our disposal. And it's something that as lenders take advantage of this, it literally revolutionizes the way that they can originate. So everything that Bernard has shown us this afternoon relies heavily on a forecast, not just a forecast, but a highly accurate forecast. And if the national numbers ever, and this is a sort of a not a very widely circulated fact, but if the national numbers ever fall below the global benchmark for predictive analytics of 70%, we actually offer a money-back guarantee on the accuracy of the forecast. So that is something that typically gets overlooked because the forecast is such an ingrained part of this platform. But I've been with iEmergent since the top of this year, so just a handful of months. And this is one aspect of what iEmergent does that never ceases to amaze me. And it's the one thing that differentiates it from all other market intelligence platforms. So again, the forecast is the one difference maker and the one thing that enables everything that Bernard has showed us this afternoon.
Thanks so much, John. Yes, you read the T-shirt, data forecast opportunities. So there you go, just to reiterate his points. Thank you so much, Bernard. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate the information today. Thank you to everyone who stopped by. There will be a follow-up email that comes out tomorrow. So check your emails for that and stop back by anytime. We appreciate you guys being here. And with that, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.